Hey, Taco Tuesday fans, this is Christian Brindle.
And I am Glenn Shelton.
We came together and combined our forces to create something special for insurance agents called Taco Tuesday. Let's taco about insurance. My company, Christian Brindle Insurance Services,
and my company, Lead Heroes,
is here to bring you the latest and greatest news happening in the insurance industry today and eat some tacos while we do it.
If you enjoy the content that we put out on this podcast, feel free to leave us a review or subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes.
Without further ado, let's get into this episode of Taco Tuesday. There we go. There it is.
Are we live?
We are live.
Welcome to Taco Tuesday, guys, really fast. I found this song. I sent it to Christian this morning. I have to play it for everybody because as soon as I heard it, I was like, this is like Christian and I's new theme song. It's called It's Raining Tacos.
And it was lovely.
It's fantastic.
It was delightful. I'm not going to lie.
It's a banger, you guys.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
We got to get the rights to that and put it at the beginning of every episode.
100. I want the rights to it so we could actually monetize the show. Start really making money, Christian.
Yeah, I know.
We're with the IP there.
We're kind of behind in the curve there.
We are. We actually are. Bill, we've had some reviews on our podcast previously where people said, "Hey, can you guys just get to the good stuff and talk about insurance?" Because we usually spend like the first 5 to 10 minutes talking about like literally tacos or BS or whatever. So I'm forewarning you now, but I do want to introduce Bill to you guys. Bill and I connected a long time ago in the marketing space. He now has his own company, which is amazing. There's very, very few people I would recommend to you guys that is in the marketing space, but Bill is absolutely one of those. Bill, why don't you take a second, tell everybody about, who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. And guys, thanks so much for having me on the show. It's an honor and a privilege. I've been a long time lurker, and now I've bothered you enough to let me on the show that you have. So that's great. Thank you for that. So I run an insurance marketing agency. It's called Policy Bind. So our predominant output is going to be in the pay-per-call model, so inbounds and transfers, anything that's health insurance, life insurance, or property and casualty related, so auto, home, renters, boats and toys, commercial, stuff like that. My team and I are generating those calls, we're generating those leads, and we have a ton of different outlets, ton of different mediums to connect with consumers on. Facebook, social media, obviously is a big one. Search, push, pop, email, SMS. Every consumer has their own specific way that they like to engage when it comes to marketing. So we hit just about every single digital medium, and then soon to be doing kind of offline stuff, billboards, radio, TV, direct mail, another big one. But right now we're all digital.
Nice.
That's awesome. So I have a question right off the bat for you, Bill.
Sure.
Just out of curiosity. So I know some people that run agencies, right? Obviously, insurance agencies, Medicare agencies, ultimately a lot different, ball game opposed to somebody that runs a marketing organization like yours or a marketing agency. But I've talked with some of them to where they might be pretty diversified in their marketing to where they do a lot of digital, but they also do a lot of off the web stuff, right? Like you were saying, they'll do billboards, radio, things like that. I talked to someone pretty recently in particular, and they were saying that they were going to stop doing all of that off the web stuff and go completely digital. but you guys are taking the opposite approach, right? You're more trying to diversify and do some stuff off the web. What kind of made you come to that decision, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, so it's, Medicare has been very interesting for us. We were predominantly property and casualty up until 2020. Our goal as an organization has always been, how do we best serve the consumer of insurance products? Like, how do we make a not easy, not fun product at least easy, and then a little bit more fun? And what we found is that different consumers like to interact with marketing in different ways, right? Like you'll have people that don't know what a Facebook is, but they're calling the Shatner hotline TV ads nonstop. Or somebody, like my father, who is he opens up every piece of mail and he takes pictures of it and sends it to me. I got lucky. I got a nice group of Medicare avatars because I was born in '84. My parents were born in the early to mid 50s. Some of my aunts and uncles in the latter part of the 50s. So even now, I have aunts and uncles that are aging in, that are 6 months out, that are getting their red, white, and blue cards, like as we speak. My father, born in '53, he's been in the mix for a little bit. My mother, born in '55, so she's seeing it too. So, I get FedEx packages with direct mail pieces in it, so I can see exactly, what's coming to them, but more importantly, like why they would want to call one ad over another.
So you think it's more about hitting a wider audience, and that's why you need to diversify. It's not necessarily that it's going to be more cost effective, but you're trying to figure out how can you get a greater response, essentially.
Yeah, and just test it, right? Just test those offline responses versus a digital thing. With digital is, and this is just a feeling that I have, is like the attention span for somebody on digital is much shorter than somebody that's gone to the mailbox, opened up a piece of direct mail, looked it over, decided to pick up the phone and dial. With some of our like inbounds, for instance, off of social, it's more of a distraction-esque type marketing where they're, had no intention of speaking to anybody about Medicare, but saw something that hooked them. And then, we can make it as easy as, crafting click-to-call ads, where the consumer is going to click a button and it's going to fire off a call. So there's little to no obstacle in between them seeing the marketing and making a call. We can push that traffic from search and social, onto a landing page that asks them a couple questions and then presents a specific phone number to them based upon, the questions that they answered. Are they over or under 65? Are they on SSDI? Are they on Medicare and Medicaid? We can ask them questions about household income, things of that nature, to kind of seg them out into SUP versus Advantage versus, special needs, DSNP stuff, whatever our clientele, wants. But
so
the more
you think, I want to focus on this for a second because I think it's really interesting. So you think a digitally generated call versus a call generated by mail, you think the call that's generated by mail, that prospect actually has a higher propensity to buy because it was a greater hurdle that they had to overcome than someone who's just sitting there and clicking? Is that kind of what your thoughts are?
Yeah, well, I can tell because we do have small campaigns running from third-party offline sources. So rather than me, putting out all the cash for direct mail, which I'm sure you're aware is a big upfront cost, especially if you're dealing with and if you're dealing with like a large scale IMO or FMO, and maybe you have like a monthly net 30 term, that money can add up big time. So what I've seen, what I've noticed is a lot of the offline marketing is going to result in a longer average call length than somebody that's just clicking a button, boom, coming on 10% of those calls, as soon as they hear a ring or a hold music, are going to hang up anyway.
I think so. We went down the Facebook ad rabbit hole specifically like late 2018 and early 2019. We were doing quite a bit on Facebook for Medicare and for final expense. And I think this is kind of my personal theory, you guys, is I feel like what happened is when Facebook was in its prime to generate leads, the algorithm, I don't think, was as smart as it is now. I think previously, when a user encountered an ad and they engaged with an ad, it didn't necessarily show them a similar ad. But now, if a senior interacts with a Medicare ad or a final expense ad, most likely their feed is going to be exclusively filled with more Medicare and more final expense ads, because that was the biggest hang up in 2019 when I finally pulled the plug on the program for us internally here at Lead Heroes. Is I realized after talking to agents and kind of going through it, these seniors were clicking on 10 or 20 final expense ads because we weren't reselling anything that we were generating, but that person was talking to 10 or 20 different agents. So it's like, okay. And this plays in line with what you just said, Bill. I think it's almost too easy for them to just click, click, click. Oh, it's another one. Click, 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 so I am a huge fan of the diversification with the offline. I think I would say your gut feeling, your intuition on that is probably 100% spot on, man.
And as somebody that's in a different realm than you guys, right? With you guys both being in the marketing space, me being an insurance agency owner, I can say that we've found, exactly the same results in doing our own internal marketing. Like the intent is so much higher with a piece of direct mail opposed to filling out a Facebook form, especially, when they fill out a Facebook form, they open it up, it pre-populates already, right? They don't really have to do anything. It's just, it's such a low intent contact, right? In comparison to someone that takes the time, they find it, they ruffle around their house, they find a pen, the pen doesn't work, they throw it down, they go find another pen, they write all their information on it, they walk it out to the mailbox, and they're going to remember doing that. Not that they don't remember doing the Facebook thing, but it's easy, it's more forgettable, So we've seen that same experience. We pay less for Facebook leads than we do for direct mail leads, but we close a higher percentage of direct mail leads, which ultimately is more valuable to me, So I think that's very smart. I just was curious of your answer, and I thought, hit it right on the head.
Bill, Bill, are you at a standing desk, Bill?
I am. I'm about to sit down now. Everyone's sitting down.
You're making me feel like a degenerate just sitting in my chair over here.
You have to see. You can't see it, but I have a
treadmill, isn't it?
Oh yeah, walk pad over here. So I'll put that underneath my desk, and I'm knocking my steps out. But yeah, we'll go sit down.
Our first 25 episodes, Glenn had a treadmill in the back, and I was like, "Wait, you use that treadmill yet?"
Oh, guys! Every time before we'd start, Christian would see me move my. I've actually sold that treadmill because I was using it so little. Gosh,
was it an unfoldable one?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a bigger one that you could fold up, but. I was more likely for me to go to the gym and get on a treadmill at the gym than for me to use the treadmill in my house. I don't know if it's just a mindset thing or what, but that's just ultimately what happened with that piece of.
It could be. It's nice to. I overused it initially to a point where, because I was walking barefoot, so I had tread burn on the bottom of my feet. I'm like, all right, maybe doing 10 miles a day is overshooting the mark a bit. And then we got the puppy, and we got a golden retriever puppy, and anyone that knows anything about them is they're not stationary pillow pets. They need to be ran and walked and all this other stuff. So I got my steps in like that. So yeah, I that hasn't been deployed in a little bit. It's been kind of collecting some dust since the puppy came around. But You guys said something interesting about the Facebook ads that I want to touch on. So
Absolutely.
I think that the Facebook ads, it's, if you're, one or two agents, like, I think, direct mail is most definitely the way to go. If you're, running a team of 5 to 10 for scalability, just to pump it in there, and understanding that, you need to handle a direct mail lead different than you need to handle a Facebook lead. If you understand that, someone was distracted by the media rather than targeted, like something like search, well, obviously you need to handle that differently, because, there are words that a lot of us use in marketing to, really capture attention, and it's most certainly does like walk that gray line of like, hey, is this okay or is this not? Because there is so much distraction on social media. So anyone that's thinking that they're going to put out the most green of green, totally compliant ads, I'm telling you right now, like everyone else's ads they'll stomp yours like over and over. And I'm not even talking about the copy, because we're starting to realize like, the shorter the copy, literally the better.
Right.
At least for, if you're trying to get somebody on a phone call. What's really going to be value or make the client stop is a huge image in the feed. And one of the things that we have found out that works well is low quality images of seniors with a prop, whether it's a check or a card or whatever it is. It's got to look like one of their friends on their feeds.
Right.
They didn't even know it was a sponsored ad until they looked in the top left corner. We've had a lot of success, posting images of the Andy Griffith show, right? We looked up what are the most popular TV shows in the 50s and 60s, Bonanza and Andy Griffith, right? Like just that, stopping them, just being like, oh man, what a great show. I remember that. Just silly things like that have worked wonders for us. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on professional videos, on the best Adobe stock images that I could possibly find. They don't work as well as something that just seems more organic. I mean, like I have videos that have done phenomenally well of my wife sitting with my 95-year-old grandmother-in-law, right? We cut two versions, one in English and one in Spanish because they're bilingual. And all she had was this in her hands.
Medicare and U-book.
Literally, right? So grandma, abuela, sitting like this, right? And, we know, especially for Spanish market, right? Like the kids are helping, these first generation Americans, with their benefits, hey, I was able to help, my grandmother seek out, a Medicare plan. Some of these plans are, $0 vision, dental and hearing. You might, or you may, that was a big thing that came from the bulletin. You can't say anything like you are going to qualify for this. You might, you may, you could, qualify for these benefits. Go ahead, click, call. You'll be connected to an agent immediately. They'll ask you some pre-qualifying questions to see which plan best fits your needs.
So two things I want to touch on that you talked about there. One, how hypothetical question, and Chris, this is for you as well, Christian, because we've talked about this a lot on this show before, is how much money do you think gets wasted in marketing because the sales team or the sales agent, the insurance agent, the call center, they don't match their scripting to the marketing? So you talked about this a second ago, Bill. You were talking about interruptive marketing versus something like a direct mail piece where they're responding, more passively to the marketing. And it's such a different style of the marketing is so different that you can't have this one size fits all response. So, how much of a disconnect do you think that, because I think it's an epidemic. If I had to guess, I wouldn't be surprised if it's tens of millions, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing that gets flushed every year because the sales team is not congruent with the marketing.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, at least like from a marketing point of view, like if the marketing isn't hitting, you know, I put a lot of that on me. You know, we're very transparent with our partners of like what angles we're running, what traffic methods are coming through to the consumer. You know, another super hot angle this year, it's been around for a couple of years, but it's new in terms of like really pushing it to market, is the OTC flex card healthy grocery angle, right? You know, consumers have just been beat over the head by Part B to a point where CMS had to step in and say like, hey, dude, stop. Like, Joe Namath, stop what you're doing, right? If the end user Medicare agent understands the consumer path, and nowadays it's super easy to assign a new DID to any campaign and do that breakdown. The campaigns are usually extremely successful. Now, if the advertiser doesn't want to go through that, they don't want to do it, they just want to jam it all into the same line, like that's kind of on them. You know, we try to do everything. We're big with analytics. We do it to a point where we're taking daily disposition reports and we're manually feeding that data back into our Facebook pixels. So any call that lasts over 15 minutes, that's high intent consumer, right? So the marketing for Medicare is easy, right? You got a federally run program. Anyone that's over 65 and in the US, living in the US, is going to qual, right? I don't do SSDI under 65. Like we make it easy. You over 65? Excellent. Boom. Hit it. You know, what's made our calls high value and work out well for our partners is like the manual or, you know, the API feed stuff that we're doing, where we're injecting that data back into the Facebook pixel and saying like, yeah, we want people over 65, but we want people that meet this criteria more. And all you need to do is provide them with a consumer phone number. We append a lot of the data that comes through. So if it's just a raw call, you know, we'll use services that append that caller phone number with stuff like address, household income, DOB, etc. Right? And we can use that in our ring routing technology. If one of my partners is like, hey, no one over 75, man, perfect, boop, go there. Someone might want over 75, but they don't think it's worth, you know, XX dollars per call. No problem. Boom. We'll send them there. But that manual feed of like, you know, like you said, Glenn, like it's Facebook and, you know, all of these companies that have been gathering this data for decades now. They're incredibly good at targeting people, but they can use more help. And the more help is just the manual feeding, you know, of, you know, these long call times directly back into it, saying, yes, I want you to hunt, I want you to find these people. But more importantly, this specific type of person is really who I'm interested in. And then from there, you know, you can create lookalike audiences, 1%, 2%, 3% that look like that. And then, you know, target them and run several different campaigns with several different angles, you know, $0 hearing, vision, dental benefit, flex card benefit, et cetera, et cetera. So there's just a ton of different ways to attack it intelligently, you know, and I feel like that's the real value benefit of, you know, working with a company like ours. You know, like you have the agents that are in the field, right? They're the gold miners, you know, they're pulling out the nuggets. And then you have the guys like me that are selling the pickaxes, right? Like, this is what we do. We do it 80 hours a week, maybe more during AEP. And we're incredibly good and we get better at it every single day. We have our finger on the pulse of like what's going on in marketing, what's working, what's not working. And it changes dynamically. Every single time we go into the Facebook Business Manager, it looks different.
Right.
You know, anyone doing any Facebook marketing is there, and Facebook's getting extremely good at, you know, picking out key phrases, looking at your ads, figuring out what consumer sentiment is, how many people are pissed off, how many are commenting bad comments, and then either rewarding or punishing your ads and ad sets based upon the consumer sentiment, because they want to, you know, clean up their image. And
that's been my biggest concern. One of the kind of driving factors with me utilizing them a lot less is just the concern of building infrastructure on someone else's playground, you know, and time again, we've seen Facebook make changes, and I just don't trust them at the end of the day. I really don't. I mean, I think they're an insanely valuable tool. I mean, the stuff that Bill just got into, you guys, he's essentially, and we talked about this a little bit before we went live, we were talking about artificial intelligence, but really what Bill was just touching on there, he's essentially using artificial intelligence. He's feeding data to an AI to find more prospects and better prospects. And I mean, how can you compete with that? I mean, I think data-driven solutions like that is just pure genius.
And when you can get in with like long-term partners, like this is our 8th annual enrollment period. So, you know, I was with another company prior to this, started our own company 3 years ago, but like we've developed relationships with our partners to a point where they can even parse us back information on predictability when it comes to LTV, right? So now not only can I funnel data back into Pixel saying like, hey, this is somebody that's extremely valuable to me. You know, you can funnel in data to say this person is not just extremely valuable to me right now, but this is the long-term effect of somebody that meets this criteria of geographic, gender, and DOB criteria. So it's, you know, we've gotten to a point, man, where we've hired, you know, full-time data analysts, full-time developers that help us deploy a lot of these changes and pivot, you know, and tack on, you know, a moment's notice.
One thing that I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on, Bill, was, so like we were talking a little bit ago about kind of when Facebook was at its peak, right? In terms of like organic, not so much organic capabilities, but just like the profitability of running Facebook ads.
Right.
It's interesting because back then you were seeing in the agent space, right? You were seeing maybe a few agents that maybe just took some time out of their day in an evening, right after they worked all day, and spent 2 or 3 hours at night teaching themselves Facebook ads, and they could explode that and explode their marketing much simpler than they could today. Nowadays, like you're talking about, you know, you have to bring on people for, you know, data analysts and just all these different things to keep up with the changes in the algorithm for Facebook. You know, the ads manager changing all the time. Do you feel like an individual insurance agent today can do their own marketing on Facebook and fully capitalize on it? Because I feel like it's getting harder and harder. I think you really have to be freaking dangerous to be able to do that on your own without some third-party company. Not to say it can't be done. Like we do our own internal Facebook ads, but it's getting more and more difficult. Like we'll run a set of ads for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, you know, and it'll work well for that period of time. And then all of a sudden it's just off a cliff, you know, and we have to go back to the drawing board. And so I find that with the ever increasing amounts of changes as an agent, it makes it more difficult. You know, it makes it more appealing to be like, okay, maybe it's better for us to work with somebody who that's what they do all day, you know, that kind of thing. But I just was curious on your thoughts on that, because I don't feel like it was I feel like it was easier for an one person agent to do it back then than maybe it is today.
Sure. So kind of like we were taught when we were talking about AI, but you know, before the show, is like just because you could doesn't mean you should, right? So
right.
And I'll even go and shoot myself in the foot a little bit here too. So an agent spending, you know, 2 hours, you know, an evening in the Facebook Business Manager, you know, bootstrapped operation, you know, wants to do their own thing. Do I think that they can be dangerous and be profitable? Yeah, absolutely. You know, do we spend more time on it? Sure. But we're doing it at a different level than an individual agent, you know? this is our product, so we have to make sure that it's as good as it can possibly be. Whereas, an individual agent might be able to get away with a little bit more. Like I said, the targeting is not difficult. It's a federally run program for anyone over the age of 65. You can go either way. Do you want to do that? It's up to you. I always break things down into, I look at my day. I've got a huge whiteboard to the right of me, and I look at the tasks that I have to do. Now, I know some of the tasks that I do are high revenue producing activities that can make me thousands of dollars an hour. And I know that other things that I do are low revenue producing activities that I can outsource to somebody else. I didn't grow up with a housekeeper. I have one now. Why? Because I can pay somebody $20 an hour to clean up my house and mow my lawn. It's financially irresponsible for me to do those things when I can be focusing on driving a ton of value to the over 65 market, right?
Right.
Just because you could
Everything
doesn't mean that you should, right? You have to look at your time as an agent. And I'm not just talking about your business time, I'm talking about your personal time as well. Yep. You have kids? Do you like to spend time with your kids? Or do you want to spend time learning Facebook ads? It's the most valuable asset that any human being that is watching this or not watching this has, is your time. So you have to sit down realistically and figure out what that's worth to you. You want to shave off, $50, $60 on your CPA, and have your kids be like, where's my dad? Where's my mom? That's totally up to you. And I can't make that decision for you, but I know that I've learned the hard way of working myself to the bone and just realizing sure, I could do this. I could change the oil to my car. I could mow my lawn. I could clean my house. I could do these other things. But sometimes I'll just send that to somebody else, and sometimes what I'm doing with that time it's not profitable in terms of
maybe
money.
it's personal, right? Maybe you're taking the time that you could have spent cleaning and you're spending it with your wife, or you're just out maybe you're out surfing, bro. I know you surf, right?
Yeah.
But that has a tremendous value, and it all factors together. I love it. This reminded me really fast. I wanted to share a story with you guys. So before I started my company, this was almost 10 years ago. I was talking to a gentleman who he had found this niche in developing websites for therapists, or maybe it was psychologists. Like he had a parent that was a therapist, and he developed a website for his parent that was a therapist, and then it kind of caught on from there, and he was getting referrals, and what started as helping his mom turned into this big business. And then he kind of ended up walking away from it. And I remember talking to this person. I was like, Ian, I'm like, what happened? I'm looking at this guy like he had the dream. He's building out websites. He found a niche. He's driving a BMW. I'm like, this dude crushed it. I'm like, why did you walk away? And his response to me, I'll never forget. He said he didn't outsource fast enough. That's what he told me. He said that was ultimately his downfall, as he was essentially taking because think about it. It's easy to balance 5 or 10 clients. Anybody could do that. But if you get to 200 or 300 clients and they're constantly hitting you like, hey, what's going on with this? I need my website changed to say this, yada, yada, yada. I think it was too much. It was kind of this collapse internally. So yeah, I love it. Outsource, baby. Outsource.
And it's exhausting too. It's exhausting. It's mentally exhausting. It makes you not want to, get up in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 100% true.
You're thinking about all your clients right now. you're like, I'm not outsourcing fast enough.
Probably not in the scheme of things. I think the biggest thing for me is I didn't hire my first employee in my office until I was probably 4 or 5 years in. And that was a mistake. If I could go back and do it over again, I would have hired them much sooner when I started hiring people sooner. And I mean, that's been every time we've brought a new person into our office, it's helped, because like we're able to get more done on a day-to-day basis. Anything that we can take off of like my plate is ultimately a win for us, and it took me way too long to figure that out, and it doesn't get talked about enough. I feel like agents, business owners, all kinds of people need to learn that lesson.
100%.
And I think that's why it's super important to document like what you're doing. Like I have like our training program that we have to onboard, new employees is there's some hands-on. Like we're definitely holding their hand, they're shadowing, they're basically on a Zoom screen share with me or another staff member all day. But then also, we have Google Docs with Loom links in it of pre-recorded stuff that they're watching, maybe after hours or before the day begins. And those have been, you want to talk about return on investment. Like we've had some very profitable campaigns, but the most profitable campaigns that we've ever had have always been the people that we invest in. The people that we can get, either from inside or outside the industry, that we can, build them up and put them in a better spot, whether it's someone that we're working with offshore or someone that we're working with onshore or near shore. I think that's helped us out tremendously. Now, don't get me wrong. Every AAP comes and it's like, trying to take a sip of water out of a fire hose. But we learn, like my employees make mistakes and they lose money. If you're thinking like, oh God, no one's going to know how to do it like me. Like I tell this all the time to my friends. I'm like, dude, listen, I don't care what your job is. NASA teaches monkeys how to fly spaceships. So if they can teach a monkey how to fly a spaceship, whatever you're doing is not that complicated. Like they'll figure it out. Oh, but I'm a salesperson and there's this and there's that. Whatever. Just go bottleneck your business and work 80 hours a week then.
Oh.
Or take less money. And have somebody make mistakes. When we make mistakes, we have a name for it. I call it tuition. We didn't lose money. We paid our tuition, right? And the only time that's a bad investment is if we go and make the same mistake over. I had a guy that launched a campaign for us and we dropped 400 calls. So let's do the math on that, right? So this guy been with me for a year, 400 calls. Let's just say we're selling them for $40 a piece. It's a $16,000 mistake. Guess what he does? He's the guy that does the mistake that he made all the time now, because I know out of everybody in our organization, that's the last guy that's going to make that mistake again. He is going to be the best at that, at setting up campaigns, at ad ops. No one's going to do it better than this guy.
Right.
I know, because he knows what the tuition bill was, and it was a high one.
Yeah. Some mistakes are
Love
expensive.
that.
One thing that, Bill, you touched on, this was the second thing I wanted to talk about that you've mentioned a few times, is the CMS bulletin that came out right before AAP started. So here we are, we're almost 3 weeks into AAP. Christian and I have already talked about this a little bit. I think, Christian, I'd love to kind of start with your perspective on, the bulletin comes out about a week before AAP. Here we are a month later, almost 3 weeks into AAP. Do you feel like you've seen a change? What do you think it was just more of the same, which is kind of, again, something that we've talked about before? What are your thoughts, Christian? And then Bill, I'd love to hear, kind of your whole opinion as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think, for me, I just kind of see some of this stuff in passing, right? As like a agency owner, like somebody might post a new commercial in the Facebook group, or someone sends me something or something like that. So, but from my perspective, I've seen I have a friend of mine that changed his age on Facebook to Medicare Age. So just so he can see the ads. And I did that temporarily, but I got tired of seeing them, so I changed it back. But essentially, like on a lot of the Facebook ads, I mean, really what the bulletin said, from my interpretation, in terms of like, if you're going to talk about specific benefits, right, you're going to get real into specifics, right, of plans, is it needs to be approved by CMS, right? It needs to be submitted to CMS, be approved by CMS. I've still seen a ton of Facebook ads come across my radar where they'll specifically talk about plan benefits. And do I believe that all of those are being submitted to CMS? I don't. So there's that. But I have seen some changes with like some of the commercials. Like someone the other day posted in the Facebook group, like a George Foreman commercial's out now. I watched the whole thing and it seemed like it followed the letter of the law a little bit more than any of the commercials we saw prior. So I think it kind of is dependent. I mean, most of the ads that I'm probably would be coming across my radar on Facebook probably are from independent agents, probably.
So do you feel like there's been a small change?
Yeah, I've seen somewhat of a change, but there's other areas where I've seen maybe the same ad I saw a year ago. And from my interpretation anyway of the bulletin or the statement that they released, it just didn't seem to coincide with it. So I don't know. It's just how do you police all these people? All these ads that are running all at the same time. I mean, you just can't. Like we talked about this last week.
Right.
So I think some of it has changed, but I don't know. Right. I still think there's plenty going on that is maybe the same as what we saw before.
Yeah. Billy boy, hit me.
Do
you need your lawyer present?
Yeah, I probably should have him.
You're like, hang on, let me get legal counsel on the line before I respond to this.
We call it Legal Shield.
Yeah.
We submit all of our creative to all our advertisers, and what we've found is, different advertisers have different propensities for risk, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
What
Sure.
they'll run, what they'll allow us to run. I think the gauntlet's been thrown. They released this on the first day of AP. I think that alone is saying a lot. When we were flying to Vegas for a conference, some woman in front of us I was watching a CNN ad, and I happened to be sitting next to, go figure, a Medicare agent. And we're just watching this stuff. I'm like, it's literally the same Part B give back, except for they pulled Joe Namath and they put William Shatner on it. But it's still talking about 148.50, 1728 back. And yeah, so I think what it comes down to is we try to stay as green as humanly possible.
Right.
One of the things that our external counsel did pull out of there is that it did mention national campaigns. So they're specifically talking about at least how we interpret it, there's TV ads that are running everywhere.
Yeah.
If you're just running ads in a couple of states, or even if you're only running ads in 48 states and you kick out Alaska and Hawaii, it's no longer a national ad.
Ooh.
I
see what you did there, Bill.
well, I mean,
you did there, Bill.
It's true. It's true.
It's clearly written by an attorney. It's murky at best, right? Like you can do this, you can do that.
Super murky. That was my take.
And you don't try to interpret that stuff by yourself. You give it to an attorney.
Yeah.
And then the attorney is going to give you a murky answer back. So it's kind of like, like we see a lot of our competition running stuff that just would never fly, but they run it. We've talking to our partners, right, that purchase traffic to their respected websites, from these affiliates. And they're like, it's hard to clean up. And I'm like, I know it's hard to clean up, and that's kind of like where they've left it. I guess we'll sit around and we'll watch. There's a good saying, like, you don't know where the far side, the middle of the road is until you see the far side. So like we wait, we don't be the nail that sticks out the furthest, because that tends to be the one that gets hit, the hardest and the quickest. And we see, where, our esteemed colleagues over at CMS decide to draw the line.
Colleagues. Oh my gosh, Bill, I mean, that's so, my interpretation I had almost the same interpretation as you did, Bill. And like, it seemed like their focus was on the national TV campaigns. It seemed like that was their main target. Obviously, there were other details in there that could be other advertisers and other advertising mediums that they were talking about. But for me, it kind of came back to the enforcement thing, because they'll rehash the rules almost every year. It seems like, where they'll put out a statement talking about, hey, do this, don't do this, yada, yada, yada. But, this marketplace is at such a size now, with the number of agents, the number of call centers, the number of Medicare beneficiaries. How does it get enforced? Like, I'm all about compliance. I'm all about cleaning up. The robocalls are insanity. I'm the first person, even though I'm running a call center, I'm the first person that would love to clean up every single robocall that's happening illegally. I was so happy when Avatar soundboard technology got lumped in back in, I think it was 2017, with robocalls. But how do you enforce it? How do you actually clean it up? Drawing the guidelines, writing the rules, that's one thing. And, it seems like that's what they love to do. But going from idea to execution on the rules, it seems like nothing ever happens. So I don't know. I'm kind of, I think we're all kind of waiting to see, like you said, what the other side of the road is going to look like here. But I don't know. I don't even understand how they could possibly drive enforcement on these rules.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to do it, but do I think like Johnny Smith, Medicare agent running his own ads, is going to have CMS like knocking at his door? It's highly improbable. I mean, look at the size of, let's say, the IRS, right?
Right.
So I used to work in the accounting industry. A lot of taxpayers, less than 1% of them are going to be subject to an audit. So if you think about it, the size of CMS, the size of all the marketing that goes there, I think it's just, you just have to, understand what your threshold is and go with that, but I know for us, we're always going to err to the side of compliance. And like I said in the beginning of the show, like our North Star at PolicyBind has always been to simplify, not complicate the insurance shopping process for consumers, especially now with the pandemic going on. That tends to be a little bit more devastating to people that are older in age and have, pre-existing conditions. The last thing that I want to do, the news and all these other outlets will scare the hell out of these people. The last thing I want to do is to do something like that, or to confuse a consumer that's already confused, that's on, some type of, static income every month. And, just thinking to themselves, like, I really can't afford to make a bad mistake here. So, the ad copy that we use, the technology that we're using on the back end to route consumers based upon data points that we have incoming from the call or that has been appended, has all been to bring value to the consumer. Because how we see it is, if we focus on the consumers and bring value to them, it'll bring value to our advertising partners, and then it'll bring value to us, as opposed to some marketing companies that are like, hey, we're focused on net. If we can get the next dollar in, then we'll be good. But we've kind of flipped that paradigm upside down and said, like, what if we just, focused on the consumers? And that's treated us very well. Our brand equity has gone up. Consumers tend to be happy. We even contact some of our consumers that, inbound dial and just ask them some questions.
Right.
How can we make this process even easier for you? Well, I waited on hold for a while. Okay. Let's take a look at your call. I spoke to 3 agents and none of them could help me. Okay. Maybe we need to do a better job internally at PolicyBind, attracting the right type of IMO, FMO, carrier partners to give a more diverse offering to these consumers. I spoke to the same person 5 times. Okay, maybe I need to look at my ring routing and make sure that, if a consumer does happen to stumble back onto our path, that phone number is going to reroute, to, a different insurance provider, because we're up in the air about that, like me focusing on the advertiser says, anytime a consumer calls back in, they're continually shopping. I should reroute them back to the same advertiser so they can close that. But if the consumer's mindset is I'm collecting information so that I can make an informed decision, then what it's telling me is that I should route that to a different carrier so that they can collect the information that they need and make good decisions for themselves and for their families.
I love that you're looking at it from the consumer end, because I do think that's not how most people do it. I think most people are so focused on marketing the sales. They're not even thinking about the consumer at all. That was a huge driver at Lead Heroes for not reselling the leads, because so many of these internet advertisers were reselling the leads 100 times. And on the consumer end, when you're looking at that and they get nuclear bombed with phone calls that first day, and then it seems like half of consumers don't even want to talk about it anymore. They're like, I'm done. So I like to try to line that up too. I think in a perfect world, everyone can be happy. The consumer got the policy they wanted, the marketer got paid, and the agent made commission, the upline, made a profit. Like, that's how there's money for everybody here. Everybody can win. So I love that. We're coming up on the hour mark. So one of the last questions I kind of wanted to go over with you, Bill, and Christian, obviously, as always, I'd love your opinion too. How do you see the future of Medicare marketing, looking ahead, which I know you do as a founder, as a CEO? What do you see for next year, next 5 years in the Medicare marketing space? Do you see radical changes coming? I mean, do you think the writing on the wall with the most recent action from CMS here, do you think it's that big changes, sweeping changes could be around the corner, or do you think it's more of the same kind of moving forward with all of this?
Christian, you want to take it first, or you want me? Up to you.
Yeah, sure. Well, ultimately, like for me, I see things probably from a little bit of a different scope than you guys do, just
Sure.
as an agency owner and not as much of a marketer. I probably don't have my ears close to the ground on it. So for the audience, take what I have to say with a grain of salt. But I mean, I feel like for an independent agent, right, which ultimately ends up being what our audience is. The last, 12 months, I've been kind of beating this drum pretty heavily, but I felt like when it comes to marketing yourself as an agent or marketing your company or, ingratiating yourself with your local community, I feel like the best thing that you can do is have a very strong and reputable brand behind it, right? And really embrace branding. That's really done a lot for our company, and it's continued to do more and more. And we seem to have an advantage over a lot of maybe the agencies or agents that more so do cookie cutter things, right? Like they'll have, generic direct mail reply cards. Now, granted, they might have a higher response rate on those direct mail reply cards, but there is not as much of a brand ingratiated with the clients and customers. And so, I've preached the whole content creation thing. I've preached the whole, branding thing, branding yourself in your community if you are a local agent, So I feel like that's becoming more and more prevalent. Like I remember I watched a video that friend of the show, Mr. Bobby Beish did.
Bobby Beish.
And he was talking about how, for like from an agent perspective, that I think he did this last year, but I thought he hit it right on the head. But he was talking about how, like if you're an independent agent, if you're an insurance agent and you're building your business on the back of maybe buying individual leads from vendors, and that's all you do, and you don't do anything more than that, and there is no, brand behind it, or there's no marketing plan, or you don't do any internal marketing. Not to say that an agent has to, teach themselves Facebook ads, but there's no brand behind their company, right? They're just kind of like a faceless agent where anybody could step into their shoes and take their place and the client wouldn't care, or have any consequence, that their business would be irrelevant in 5 years. We said that in 2020. So we're 1 year into that. I think the market has gone more towards that from the independent agent perspective. I think for agencies, it's really important to have a good, reputable name more than ever. And there's a lot of ways you can do that, but having that ingratiated in your advertising and at the forefront of your marketing, I feel is really important. I think that as we see more and more venture capital organizations getting involved into the Medicare space, I think we'll see more and more advertising. I don't think that's going to stop. I think every year I've been in the game, I've seen the advertising go up every year.
Yep.
I haven't seen it go the other way. And so I really would be, I really don't feel like that's going to stop. I think it's going to be more of that trend going forward.
To kind of simplify, I love what you said, but to kind of simplify this for everybody.
Yeah.
Christian's saying, because there's going to be this increased saturation in marketing, that you need to utilize branding to separate yourself from the other marketing that's going on, right?
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be hugely impactful for agents, right? I think that's how they compete with, the George Foreman commercials, right? Or what was the one you said, Bill?
Joe Namath.
Don't name it, but there's another one.
William Shatner.
The William Shatner. Those kind of things, like those kind of ads. I feel like that's how an independent agent, is able to kind of compete in their local market with that kind of stuff.
Well, really fast. It's interesting that you say that, because the brokerage when I was selling insurance, the brokerage that I started with, the brand of that brokerage was entirely agent facing. There was essentially no consumer facing brand for the brokerage. So the agents essentially hid behind the carrier brand. So when you were talking to the clients, even if you did mention the brokerage that you worked with, it was really like, well, I work with them, but I'm offering you Mutual of Omaha, Aetna, like you're going through all the carrier brands. And so it was a big company. It was a big brokerage. They were selling millions and millions of dollars in premium every single year. And there really wasn't any sort of brand, and all the marketing they were doing was super generic. So it's crazy to think that Bobby just said that, and he was saying 5 years from now, because I'm thinking like, it feels like it's already dead. It feels like you really have to have a brand.
Right.
Bill, and I'm curious, Bill, are you using PolicyBind, the brand, in any of your consumer facing marketing, or do you have DBAs for that?
We have DBAs for that kind of stuff. I guess like I'll play a little bit of like devil's advocate here, right? I think that there's going to be, little to nothing that you can do, when it comes to, the inevitable, which is to see these LTVs shrink on these policies as, more and more marketing is going to hit these people that are aging into Medicare, that are more and more familiar with smartphones, technology, social media networks, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it just looks to me, and obviously we're vested in this. We built a company around it, that, the digital medium is going to take the lion's share of the attention span of these consumers. Yes, of course, we want to try some direct marketing and pipe some of that in there. But the digital medium is just, it's not a secret that, social media and our technology devices they're very addictive, right? And more people are getting on these. I think that COVID and social distancing has drastically accelerated the dependence on these devices, because people that typically, would show up at these community events are not showing up at these community events because maybe they have pre-existing conditions, maybe they're worried about groups of people. So they're spending more and more time on their smartphone and on social media. Look, they say it takes 90 days to build a habit. We're way outside that, right? So now that habit is getting more and more and more ingrained. These people that never put their information out on the internet right now have made up for lost time. They've been dumping their information, and these distribution platforms like Google and like Facebook, are collecting that information. And for people that know how to use it, you can get a highly targeted campaign that's going to drive a ton of volume and a ton of new policies. Like if you think that, the days of like 5+ year LTVs on a Medicare policy are just like, they're just out, and they're never coming back. So, you have to think of, more new, fresh ways to, not just drive it.
Is that because of churn? Because there's so much marketing, there's going to be more churn in the marketplace, so the LTV is going to drop?
Yeah, exactly. And like have a robust account management team that's checking on people, that's mailing, direct mail, out to your clients, thanking them, connecting with them a month or so prior to AEP, a month or so after AEP, throughout the special enrollment period, because there is nothing that you can do to stop the flow of marketing coming into your current clients. And I feel like, if you're going to take this approach of like, I want to keep my clients as long as I possibly can, it's basically like, just plugging, one hole and then another one's going to spring. And I feel like because this marketing is out there, that it's going to be so much better from an agent's point of view, not to focus on the fires. How do I keep these consumers, but to focus on the opportunities. And the opportunity is to get more fresh clients into your business. Don't worry about plugging a hole, right? Worry about the opportunity, and the opportunity is to get more clients.
So on this same vein, right? So obviously, as we've talked about on the show a bit before, Christian, there's call center contracts that are available where you can get a higher commission up front, but then maybe you have no renewal at all, or maybe it's a very small renewal. Do you think that's kind of the future of Medicare, or maybe even what you would possibly recommend, just kind of based on what you just said right there?
Well, just to hit on that. So like we know some of the private equity money that's funding a lot of these deals.
Right.
And they're, these are not dumb people at all. Like they're not in the business of losing money. Yeah. And they're the first ones to admit that, the payouts that, they're giving now are going to begin to shrink because the marketing is getting more aggressive and the churn rate is getting higher. So, could you do that? Yes, of course you could do that. But it's, it's a problem. It's, anyone that's watching the show, the money that you have in your company coffers is going to be directly correlated with the scale of the problem that you solve, right? It's a big problem. Whatever agent that's out there that decides to solve that problem, you're going to be an extremely wealthy person. But it's an issue.
So it kind of feels like, and obviously P&C better than anybody, Bill, because you've been in that space for so long. So it kind of sounds like you foresee Medicare becoming P&C, where people are switching over $1. There's no loyalty essentially, and the renewals aren't really something you can bank on as much. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be as bad as property and casualty, right? Like you're lumping a lot of the P&C market into these younger people who will leave you. I mean, I think the senior market has a lot more loyalty. They're not, as engaged with digital as some of their younger counterparts.
Right.
But I still think it's going to shrink. Yeah. I mean, like I'd put my house on that for sure. But I also, think, potentially, we could get a little bump lower in the age, fingers crossed, hopefully, and if it moves from even 65 to 60, that would be awesome for everybody on this phone call and everybody watching.
Another thing like that's interesting about it too is like, obviously, younger generations are aging in, right? So as the new generations keep coming in, they're going to be more and more technologically savvy, right? So I think it'll just get more and more apparent. And I think you hit it right on the head. But I mean, when I first started, like everything we were doing was off digital, and I've probably been in an agent perspective, I've probably been in about 8 years now. It's amazing how much more technologically savvy the people turning 65 today are than when I started. It's like night and day. And so I think that's to be expected as well, and to be factored into it is like younger generations are aging in. They've had a lot of this technology, smartphones, social media at younger ages, so they've had time for it to be part of their lives.
Yeah. And I think that, this older generation getting more savvy on a digital medium, it's not a straight line graph, guys. It's exponential,
Right.
so
Right.
It's not like something
Right.
you could hang your hat on of like, all right, like LTVs are going to lower like this. It's going to look like this, like a hockey stick.
Right.
Once you start to get, like guys like, my father who's 68 years old starting to talk about Bitcoin, like that's a sign.
Signal. Yeah, that's a sign. A strong signal. It's really interesting. This is really interesting because like the last 10 years, when I look back, like it used to be that I never heard a Medicare agent ever complain about churn. It literally used to never even get discussed. And every Medicare agent would say the same thing. I keep 97% of my clients, 99% of my clients. I only lose my clients when they pass away. And it seems like every year I hear more and more agents and agency owners start to complain about churn, where they are losing more clients. And it's also interesting because Medicare commissions or LTV it's kind of been like a slope up, I'd say, over the past several years. But there has to be, like you said, talking about some of the money, the hedge funds, the investment money that's coming into this space. If they figure out a way to generate that client for less and essentially keep that money, I mean, why pay out more commissions to the agent? It doesn't, or the agency. It just doesn't make sense. So I could see it starting to slope down moving forward. I mean, I don't know. I never really thought about a quick decline, but I think it's possible for sure.
And they do it now in property and casualty, right? Like there are, they have the ability, to take data from, whatever medium it comes through. Let's just say like a website, appending that data into, things like what car they currently own. Like, they can API into
credit score,
into Experian, motor vehicle reports, like everything.
Right.
Like you can lie your ass off on the form, but like, the MBR is going to get pulled. It's going to come through. And then it's going to go into their like Easy Links or QQ Rater, or like whatever type of rating software that they're going to run. And all that data will come in and generate a quote. And that consumer, has the ability to buy in there. I mean, like Progressive's doing it right now. And let me tell you something, like they're doing all right, and like how many Progressive brick and mortars do you see? You don't.
Yeah. You're one. I mean, maybe one, like in the past 10 years.
Allstate, State Farm, etc. Like you see, all their brick and mortars, and a lot of them didn't come back after COVID. They found out that they could, they don't need that extra overhead. Now, I'm not saying this to scare the Medicare agents into thinking like, oh my God, I'm not going to be needed. But what I'm trying to convey is that technology is not going to be denied its market share. Just not going to happen. And if you're sitting in the groups and you're upset about ads and you're upset about this and you're upset about that, like I get it. I get upset too. But there's not much that you can do about that, right? There's only so many fires that you can put out. There's only so many urgencies that, you can handle until there's no more.
Right.
But opportunity is endless, right? You can only short a stock until zero, but you can buy that sucker and you can ride it to the moon, right? So, I always try to tell my guys, like even our internal team meetings, 2 years ago, yeah, we used to start with fires. What's wrong? What do
Right.
we need to fix? And it's exhausting. Now we start our team meetings with what are our opportunities? What's the complexity of this opportunity and what's the impact of it? How quickly can we deploy it? What's going to be, how is this going to look from a consumer's point of view, our advertiser's point of view, our internal point of view? So
Bill, how
that's
much GameStop stock should I buy then? I feel like that's what that was. Big. Are we in crypto? Where are we in now? I want to go to the moon, bro.
Dogecoin?
I want to go to the moon, Bill. Let's go.
you're on the rocket ship, Glenn. We're all on
Okay.
it right now. It's Medicare, right?
I like to hear that, guys. I am so appreciate this conversation today. Bill blew my mind with the technology he's leveraging and advertising. I feel like I need to create a draft. I'm going to have a CEO offer to you, Bill. I'm going to pay you to come in and CEO Lead Heroes because you could probably run it better than I do. But I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're just over the hour mark. We like to kind of wrap up, Bill, with our final thoughts after kind of the conversation completes here. So just kind of a minute of your final thoughts, and then we'll call this a day. So Christian, take it away, good sir. What are your final thoughts?
Yeah. Well, this was a killer episode. This is Bill, you're the first guest we've had on probably in a month. So it's very refreshing. And thank you for taking time out of your day during AEP to come on. This was fun and
super
enjoyed
awesome.
it. I think for me, guys, is one thing that Bill said that I'm probably going to be thinking about for a while. And I think you hit it right on the head is technology won't be denied. So for what I gather out of that is we need to be ultimately, at the end of the day, right, businesses grow from more clients. So I think I agree with what you said there too. You have to continue to grow, focus on growing, because if you're ever not in a growth mindset, you're going to be detracting, right? There is no staying the same. That's just not a thing in business in general, in my opinion. And so I thought that was really good. I think, guys, if for anybody that's watching this that does business a certain way, just understand that when things do change, you have to shift with the market, right? Because things are going to do what they're going to do. And I think that was very insightful. And I think this was a really good episode. I think this one is one that you guys should go back and watch a couple of times to get every nugget that was dropped.
100%. Bill, hit us. What you got?
So, first and foremost, thanks so much for, having me on the show. The secondary to our consumer base is our base of advertisers. So I always love to come on and, provide any type of value or answer any type of questions that I can to the agents. I mentioned some pretty jarring things. It's nothing to be afraid of. Everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's facing the same challenges. I hope if you guys got anything out of this, that it's incredibly important and that you should increase your marketing budgets. I'm not saying that to have that marketing budget come to me. It can come to anybody that you want. But a great line that was told to me from an old mentor of mine, I used to say it on the phone. Sometimes he said, spending less money on marketing to save, your overhead expenses is like taking, the batteries out of a clock to save time. It's still going to go out the door. You're spending money one way or another. Do you want to spend it in lost opportunity or do you want to spend it in making up the opportunity? And, I hit several times, guys, just focus on opportunity. I got, I don't know where it is, but I got it in a fortune cookie. It was just when COVID had hit and we were doing hundreds of thousands of dollars in property and casualty. We weren't doing anything in the Medicare space yet. I opened up this fortune cookie and it said, watch out for catastrophes. they're really opportunities, right?
Ooh.
The technology thing is definitely a jar, to everybody, but there's a ton of opportunity if you can move quick enough. If you can keep an open mindset, and if you can just go with the flow, like it's not up to an individual Medicare agent. It's not even up to these big, IMOs, FMOs, and carriers of what the consumer decides to do. It's up to the consumer, and all we can do is support them. If they want to shop more, then you just have to be better on the phones. If they want to churn their policies more, then you have to be better in account management. But at the end of the day, opportunity is exponentially more scalable than putting out fires. I can't stress that enough.
God, I love that so much. This really was a fantastic episode.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I hope you guys really were able to pull some nuggets out of it, especially with what Bill shared with us today. Kind of my final thoughts, you guys. One of the things Bill said that's really like stuck in my head right now is, so I went to school in Northern Arizona. I went to NAU, and there was a brick and mortar Progressive in Northern Arizona. However, I think that's the only brick and mortar Progressive shop I think I've ever seen is in this small town in Northern Arizona. And yet my car insurance is with Progressive. And no, I didn't sign up with Progressive through that brick and mortar. It was just, the advertising, the simplicity of working with them. I don't know. I honestly can't even tell you why I initially enrolled with Progressive, but I think that's very interesting to kind of think about how that could potentially apply to the life health space, to the senior market. I think, while brick and mortar can be very successful, like we've talked about on this show, like we brought agents on the show who have brick and mortar, you can also be equally or even more successful without any type of brick and mortar. I mean, at Lead Heroes, we're 100% virtual. There is no brick and mortar location. And I know there's agencies that operate the same way. So I think that was a really interesting insight that I'm going to kind of be thinking about is other companies that are brick and mortar free and kind of how they've progressed and how they've grown. Again, Bill, thank you so much for coming on. Christian, I know
Thank you.
So busy right now. We're all crazy busy, but I'm so glad we're able to kind of get together. We've talked about all three of us getting together for a while now. And it finally happened, and this was awesome. So, Bill, again, I really appreciate your time, buddy.
Yeah, sure. And if there's anything that I could ever do, if agents have any questions, you guys need me for anything, like please let me know if there's any type of value that I can, pass on to your, network of viewers, Glenn. I'm just a phone call away.
Yeah, what's the best way if someone wanted to get a hold of you, Bill? What's the best way for them to do that?
To contact you first. Do you see that picture in the back? It says no on it. It's Consuela from Family Guy. No, I'm kidding. The best way to get a hold of us is obviously to interact with our website. Like we have people that are even more capable than I am that work for us that can answer any questions. Everybody at our organization is aligned, and we're all looking out for, like I said, the consumers and for the advertisers. So feel free, if I see you come on, if you put in any of the boxes that you saw the show, I'll personally reach out to you, and forgive me ahead of time if my response time isn't too quick. It is annual enrollment period. It is like drinking a glass of water out of a fire hose right now. So yeah, that website would probably be the best.
Awesome.
Well, awesome, guys.
Cool.
Thanks everybody for watching. If you watch the replay on YouTube, do us a favor, like, subscribe, comment, give us your thoughts on the episode. If you're watching on the audio platforms, give us a 5-star review if you're listening on a platform that lets you do that. We'll be back next week. Thanks you guys for tuning in. And Bill, thanks again for taking the time to come on.
Of course. Thanks, guys.
Rain and talk.